Before we get going into today's episode, I need you to understand something. This is not a normal series. For the next 7 episodes, we will be having a conversation that most men avoid. We're talking about ownership, mental ownership, physical ownership, and biological ownership. So, for the next 7 weeks, we are going to break this down layer by layer. We're going to talk about things such as what it really means to lead yourself before you try to lead anyone else. Why so many men look strong in public and are silently eroding in private. Why blood pressure is not just a health issue, but it's a responsibility issue. We'll discuss why high performance without health is actually self-sabotage. Why men don't avoid doctors because they're busy, but they avoid them because they don't want to know the truth. And lastly, why leadership doesn't start with a title. It actually starts in your bloodstream. So what we're going to do, we're going to establish a clear standard where you'll be able to measure, strengthen, and regulate. Now, this is not fear-based. This is not shame-based. This is actually discipline-based. You're going to hear things that may challenge you, make you feel a little uncomfortable. And if it does, good. Because comfort has never built strong men. So once again, by the end of this series, you won't just be inspired. You will have structure, you will have clarity, and you will have a decision to make. Either drift or govern. This is the ownership standard, and it starts now. This is the Double Edge Factor, where high performance meets peace of mind and faith meets focus. I am your host, Rob Manuel, and peace and blessings unto you. Before we get going, be sure to like, follow, and hit that subscribe button, because the more positive interactions you put out there, the more they push this podcast to people who've never heard it before, which, of course, will help us grow, reach new ears, and have a greater impact on more people around the world. And if you want 2026 to be the year that you perform and live at your highest level, head on over to rodmanuel.com. That's RODMANUEL.com. Join that email list and remember to like, follow, and subscribe. All right, let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about self-governance. We've reduced leadership to visibility, but leadership is governance, and governance starts with self. Self-governance means you can control your emotional responses under pressure. You can regulate your impulses. You can delay gratification, and you can make decisions from clarity instead of fatigue. Most men want authority, but few want accountability to themselves. If you wake up exhausted every day, if your mood swings are tied to stress spikes, if you are irritable because you have underslept, if your blood pressure is elevated and you refuse to check it, you are not leading yourself. You are actually reacting to chemistry. Leadership is not charisma. It's internal order. If your internal world is chaotic, your leadership will also be unstable. All right. So discipline is internal infrastructure. So we admire external infrastructure, right? Buildings, companies, systems. But your body is also an infrastructure. Your cardiovascular system, your endocrine system, your nervous system. And sleep is maintenance. Movement is maintenance. Nutrition is maintenance. Stress management is maintenance. So when men skip these maintenance things, they call it sacrifice. But what they're actually doing is accumulating biological debt. Chronic sleep deprivation increases cortisol, which of course increases your blood pressure too, right? And increased blood pressure damages your artery walls. Damaged artery walls increase long-term cardiovascular risk. So this is not dramatic. It's actually predictable. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You can run high on performance on borrowed health, but the interest compounds. Because self-leadership means you don't wait for symptoms. You actually maintain the system. I want to talk a little bit about the system. I want to talk a little bit about my man, David. David was anointed long before he was crowned. He was a guy who he faced isolation, repetition, responsibility, and obscurity. Sheep herding sheep is required. It required vigilance, consistency, self-control. So when time went on, the public saw Goliath, but God saw preparation. So before his elevation, there was all this development. So I said all that to say this. Private discipline preceded public leadership. If this episode means anything, it means this. Leadership. Leadership begins with metrics. So this week, this is what I'm challenging you with. Get your blood pressure checked. Check your blood pressure. Schedule some labs, right? Track your sleep for at least 7 days. Walk around 8,000 plus steps daily. And lift at least twice a week if you can. Not because you're afraid, but because you are responsible. And here's my double-edged message for today. If you want to lead others with strength and integrity, start by mastering your own habits, emotions, and discipline. The man who governs himself becomes a man others can trust. That is it for today. If this episode added value, clarity, or even one push you needed, share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. The only way we grow this podcast is when you guys share it. The more you share, the greater impact we can have around the world. And if you want 2026 to be the year that you perform and live at your highest level, head on over to rodmanuel.com. That's RODMANUEL.com, where you will have access to resources, coaching tools, and more to help you live, lead, and perform at your highest level. You can also order a copy of my latest book, Faith on Demand, which is also available on Amazon. And you also have access to other exclusive content. And as I always say, be intentional with your words, be intentional with your thoughts, and be intentional with your actions. And always find a way to be a blessing to someone else today.